My husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and I've been caring for him at home, but my daughter-in-law treated us like a burden. When our savings meant for our retirement ran out, she secretly changed the locks and locked us out of the house. In despair, my husband and I set off on a journey with no destination. However, it was my husband's suggestion to visit a new place that sparked a turning point in our lives. My name is Rachel. I'm 66 years old and live in a small house in the suburbs of LA with my husband Jack, my son and his wife Brian and Erica, and our grandchild. A few years ago, Jack was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and I've been taking care of him at home. His condition is severe. He has difficulty standing up or walking and he needs assistance with daily activities. He often uses a wheelchair when we go out. He has always hated hospitals, so even when I worried and suggested he go, he would insist.
It's normal to feel a bit off after 60.
By the time he realized something was wrong, his symptoms had progressed significantly. He began having difficulty walking and lost his balance several times, falling in the house. It wasn't until he started experiencing these symptoms that he finally agreed to see a doctor and was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. The treatment for Parkinson's is primarily medication, which costs about $150 per month. Jack used to run a small auto repair shop, but our son had no interest in taking over and became a company employee instead. So Jack closed the shop and retired at 65. It's been 5 years since then. Looking back, I think he had already started showing symptoms of Parkinson's then, making it hard for him to continue working. Our son married a woman 5 years younger from the same company when he was 30. About 8 years ago. At that time, Jack was still working and I had a part-time job. Until our grandchild Coco was born, the four of us were earning and we could live comfortably. After Coco was born, Erica became a full-time housewife, and later, when Jack retired and started living on his pension, our life gradually became more difficult. But we still had some savings and didn't think it was too serious. However, after Jack was diagnosed with Parkinson's and needed daily assistance, I quit my part-time job. When Coco started attending elementary school, Erica began to complain. We still have to pay for the child's education, and now we have to support 2 elderly people. It's impossible. What are we supposed to do? She would say things like this right to our faces. Our combined pension is about $1,300 per month. If we had delayed starting the pension, we could have increased the amount slightly, but we needed cash now, not a few years later. The only saving grace was that the mortgage on our house was fully paid off, so we didn't have to worry about housing costs. Out of our modest pension, Erica made his promise to contribute $1,000 monthly for food and living expenses. After paying for my husband's medical treatments and medications, we had almost nothing left. It's common for grandparents to buy school bags for their grandchildren, right? And Coco wants to join a swimming class, so please pay for that too. She said it as if it were a matter of course, always ending with, you have savings, don't you? But that was our retirement fund. They say you need $200,000 for retirement, but we couldn't save that much. Still, we thought it would be cheaper to live with our son's family in a house we owned rather than live in a rental just the two of us. So I started dipping into our savings of about $10,000, which we had when my husband retired. My son, completely dominated by his wife, would always apologize to me.
I'm sorry, Mom. I should be promoted to manager soon, and then things will get easier, so please, hold on until then.
He was always so kind. When Parkinson's disease progresses, muscles stiffen, making it difficult to move, and expressions become limited. But my husband had always been stoic and expressionless, and I actually liked that about him. It made me incredibly happy when my usually blunt and gruff husband occasionally said kind words or showed concern for me. After he developed Parkinson's and I started assisting him with his daily life, he began to express his gratitude to me more frequently than before. It's strange, but we actually talked more as a couple than we did before. Although caregiving days are tough and exhausting, being by my husband's side and doing things for him was never a burden to me. Unfortunately, my son's promotion was postponed. Erica was the most frustrated by this. It wasn't my son's fault. He seemed to have gotten caught up in some internal company politics. You said you'd be promoted in the spring, so I thought we could easily afford the loan payments when I went shopping. Now what? Erica blamed my son for his failed promotion. She had counted on his pay raise to replace appliances and buy clothes for herself and the kids. It added up to about $1,000 a month. I thought she should have waited to shop until after my son was promoted, but it wasn't the atmosphere where I could say that. Because my son was being blamed so much, I ended up saying, paying interest on loans is a waste. I'll cover it with our savings. But this wasn't good. When Erica blamed my son, I, as the mother-in-law, would step in to cover the costs, and Erica began to take advantage. At this rate, our savings were quickly diminishing. I told Erica, we don't have much left in savings. I can't keep giving you money like before. From that day on, her attitude towards us grew colder. Not that she was ever particularly kind, but up until then, our granddaughter Coco would often come to our room to share tea and snacks or play with us. One day I invited Coco. We have some sweets. Would you like to have some with us?
No, I don't want to. I might catch the disease.
Parkinson's isn't contagious, I assured her, explaining that Grandpa's illness wouldn't spread.
Mom told me not to go near you,
she replied before running away. I was shocked. I knew my husband would be devastated if he heard this.
Coco hasn't come by recently,
he said, looking lonely. I lied. She's 6 now, so she's probably busy playing with her friends. When our granddaughter started elementary school, Erica said,
we'll need more money for Coco's education from now on.
And she began working part-time for a few hours during the day. I can handle things at home. It's not like you have to be with Jack all the time. When I said that, she snapped back,
of course,
without any words of gratitude. A little before our granddaughter's summer vacation, Erica asked,
we want to take a family trip to the beach for Coco. Can you cover the expenses?
When she said family, she did not mean my husband and me. I said, we don't have much savings left.
This will be the last time. I'm working part-time, so it'll be fine.
She said this strangely gently, so I gave Erica $1,000 from our remaining savings. Our savings were now under $2,000. After finishing housework like cleaning and laundry in the morning, if the weather was nice, I'd take my husband in his wheelchair to a nearby park. We'd stroll around the park enjoying lunch and tea from a thermos under a shady spot with a table and benches. After that, we'd walk slowly through the park again before heading home in the wheelchair. One day we returned home to find the door locked, and there seemed to be no one inside. Since it was summer vacation and Erica had the day off from her part-time job, I thought she might have gone shopping. But when I tried to insert the key into the lock, it wouldn't turn. That's strange, I thought, trying several times, but the door wouldn't open. I noticed a white envelope wedged in the door. When I picked it up and read it, it said, we're going on a family trip for 4 days. It was written in Erica's handwriting. I couldn't believe it. They had mentioned going on a family trip for summer vacation, but I didn't know they were leaving that day. We had been locked out.
I guess the lock was changed to tell us to leave,
my husband said quietly. I didn't know what to do and panicked. Both my husband and I had lost our parents, and we had no close relatives to turn to.
I'm sorry for getting sick,
my husband apologized. It's not your fault. In times like this, families should support each other.
They don't want us. They think we're a burden.
I never imagined that in our old age, we would face such sadness and humiliation. I was so sad and angry that I couldn't stop crying. In hindsight, I could have called a locksmith, but I was too shocked to think that.
Why don't we just go on a trip somewhere far away, just the two of us?
My husband suggested. That might be nice, somewhere far away where no one knows us. Until the last of our $2,000 runs out, then we could go even further away. My husband and I boarded a train without deciding on a destination. The train was full of cheerful families, but we were the only ones traveling without a destination.
How about we live our final days in Reflection Valley?
My husband suddenly suggested, looking out the window. What do you mean all of a sudden? I asked. I only had the image of Reflection Valley as a paradise with beautiful flowers. My husband explained that when he was about 20, he had visited a village on a solo trip, and that village turned out to be Reflection Valley.
It was a really nice place. The scenery was beautiful, the people were kind, and the food were delicious.
If you want to go, I don't mind. We have nowhere else to go anyway. Relying on my husband's memory, we transferred trains and finally arrived at a small station in Utah. From there, we took a bus further into the mountains.
This is the last bus returning to the station today,
the driver warned as we got off.
Our destination is further ahead, so we'll be fine. Thank you,
my husband said, thanking the driver as the bus turned back. We walked for about 15 minutes along a narrow paved road where cars could barely pass each other if they didn't yield. As the sun began to set, the sky grew dark, and there were no cars or people on the road. I started to feel anxious. Just then, a small horn honked, and a small truck appeared from the direction of the bus stop.
"Where are you headed?"
A man in his 50s driving the truck asked.
"We're trying to get to Reflection Valley,"
My husband replied.
"Reflection Valley, huh? That's a great place. Want a ride? At this pace, you'll get there by midnight,"
he said with a smile. The man lifted my husband and put him in the passenger seat, handed me a cushion he was sitting on, and apologized.
"Sorry, you'll have to ride in the back. Hold on tight."
The truck drove off. It was my first time riding in the back of a truck. Clinging to the wheelchair that was loaded with me, I felt a bit excited. The truck arrived at a large, old farmhouse. The man helped me get down from the truck, unloaded the wheelchair, helped my husband into it, and then led us into the house. The interior was surprisingly well maintained, unlike the exterior.
"It's been about 50 years, hasn't it, Jack?"
The man said, speaking familiarly, much to my surprise. Jack was my husband's name. The man remembered him from nearly 50 years ago. His name was Sam, and though he looked like he was in his 50s, he was actually 64.
"You remember me well,"
My husband said, happily.
"Of course, Jack. You're my benefactor,"
Sam replied. He explained that when he was 14, he was at a crossroads in his life, unsure whether to take over the family farm or pursue a career in painting.
"I wanted to go to the city to study art, and it was around that time that your husband visited our village and praised my paintings," he said. "He said my paintings were truly wonderful, that I captured nature in a unique perspective and style," he added. "I suggested that if you went to the city, you might not be able to paint like that,"
My husband recalled with a smile.
"I decided to stay in this village where I was born and raised and paint. If you look, there are several canvases in the corner of the living room,"
he pointed out.
"Did my casual comment decide your fate?"
My husband asked apologetically.
"Not at all."
Sam laughed heartily.
"You might not know, but I'm a pretty successful artist, and it's all thanks to you."
Sam showed us his paintings, which depicted nature, but in a somewhat abstract style, conveying a strong sense of vitality rather than realism. "Oh, I've seen Sam S. on a painting in a bank," I exclaimed, noticing the signature on one of the paintings. Sam grinned proudly, pleased that he was indeed a popular artist.
"The last time you were here was in the spring, right? There were a lot of peach blossoms then, so that's why you called it Reflection Valley."
He laughed. He then showed us to the bath and, knowing that my husband needed assistance, said,
"I'll join him."
They left me behind, surprised, and went to the bath together.
"The bath was so good,"
My husband said, coming back with a bit of a blush on his cheeks.
"The waters here have different healing properties,"
Sam explained. The bath was like an open-air jacuzzi, and I could stretch out my arms and legs and soak in the hot water, truly relaxing for the first time in a long while. When I came out of the bath, Sam had prepared a meal for us. We had pasta with mountain vegetables and mushrooms, grilled char, and fried vegetables. Everything was wonderfully delicious.
"These are mostly free,"
Sam said proudly.
"The pastas are made from local buckwheat that I mill, and I caught the fish in the nearby river. We gather vegetables from the mountains, and some houses raise chickens, so we hardly need to buy anything except meat." We also had some local alcohol, and we told Sam how we came to this village. "That's unforgivable. How could your daughter-in-law treat elderly people who've worked hard all their lives like that? Does she think she'll never grow old?" Sam fumed, speaking on our behalf. "You can stay here as long as you like. In fact, why not just live in this village?" he suggested. Sam's parents were still alive and grew vegetables nearby. "I got married when I was younger, but we divorced after about 10 years. Now I'm single," Sam said, laughing. "I love people, but it seems I'm not cut out to be a husband. This village is great, but it's honestly quite boring, so visitors are truly welcome. Jack, how about we go fishing together tomorrow?" he said, inviting my husband and showing us to a guest room. The next morning, when I woke up, the two men had already gone fishing. Left alone, I decided to clean up as a small gesture of gratitude. The place was tidy, but it wasn't spotless. It had the feel of a single man's household. At the very back of the large single-story house was Sam's studio. As I opened the door, I was hit with a nostalgic smell of paint, bringing back forgotten memories of my time in the art club in high school. I thought the studio was Sam's sanctuary, so I closed the door quietly without touching anything. The two returned just after noon. The cooler box was filled with fish like char. Jack, you have a talent for fishing,
Sam praised.
Well, since I can't move much due to my illness, I'm good at sitting still and waiting,
my husband joked, making everyone laugh. It was tough dealing with the illness, but it was nice to laugh like this. We quickly prepared the fish we caught for lunch. We had brought my husband's medication in a blister pack for a walk the day before, so we were good for a few days, but if we stayed longer, there would be issues with medication and hospital visits.
There's a big hospital about an hour and a bit by car from here. Let's go together tomorrow,
Sam suggested. My husband and I apologized profusely for all the help we were receiving.
No need for that. Today was great fun, and you even cleaned up for me. I should be the one thanking you,
he replied. And so our strange cohabitation with Sam began. When I said I would handle the cooking and cleaning, Sam was delighted.
I don't mind cooking, but I'm tired of cooking for myself and eating alone,
he said, welcoming me with open arms.
The bath at home is great, but we also have proper hot jacuzzis around here,
he said, showing us around. He introduced us to his parents, who lived about a 10-minute walk away.
Thanks to your husband, our son has become a fine man and even built us a new house,
she said, thanking us for some reason. My husband, who had been a young traveler passing through, blushed with embarrassment. He seemed more expressive than usual. Sam's parents' house was a stylish, barrier-free, single-story home, quite different from the old farmhouse Sam lived in.
The old house sparks my imagination more,
Sam said, sounding like a true artist. A few days passed quickly. The ringtone on my smartphone went off, displaying my son's name. It seemed they had returned from their 4-day family trip.
Mom, where are you? We came back from the trip, but you and Dad aren't here, and the house has been closed up for days, he said when I answered. I remembered that the kitchen waste might still be there. In the heat of summer, leaving the house closed up for 4 days would indeed be a disaster. Didn't Erica tell you? I asked. On the day you left for your trip, your father and I were locked out of the house, I replied. What?
We came back from a walk to find the locks changed and couldn't get in, I explained.
That's ridiculous,
he exclaimed. You didn't want us around, right? But it's okay. We're in a Reflection Valley now, I said.
What are you talking about, Mom? Reflection Valley? No way,
my son said, his voice trailing off. Don't worry, your dad and I are fine. Take care of yourselves over there, I said, hanging up. After that, my son called several more times, but I decided to ignore them. One day, Sam was doing something in the kitchen. He was simmering something in a pot, but it didn't seem like food.
I'm making natural pigments. I thought about painting with only natural materials,
Sam said. He explained that he was making pigments from berries, hollyhock, beets, marigolds, and the like. After painting with the finished pigment, he said,
it lacks punch for my paintings.
I think the soft colors are lovely, I said.
Why don't you try painting something, Rachel?
He said, handing me a sketchbook. What, me? I asked, surprised.
When you first cleaned the house, you said you didn't touch the studio because it was a sacred place, right? And the way you look at paintings is very artistic. So why not try? We have all the time in the world.
I had a bit, actually a lot of interest, so I gratefully took him up on his offer. When Sam saw my painting, he exclaimed,
Wow, that's great. It's so gentle and warm. These natural pigments suit you perfectly. It's a painting I could never create.
I was thrilled with his praise. From then on, it became my hobby to go into the mountains to collect plants for making pigments and to paint. I cleaned, did laundry, cooked, and painted in my spare time. Both Sam and my husband enjoyed my cooking, and every day felt like a childhood summer vacation. As for my husband, he began going out to help the neighbors with car, machine, and electrical repairs. He used to run an auto repair shop, so he was good at those repairs. The neighbors knew about his illness and told him, "Take your time." My husband would return, saying proudly, "I got fresh eggs today." My husband had gotten much better. He hardly needed assistance with daily activities anymore. Maybe it was the hot jacuzzis or the stress-free days. Parkinson's disease still has many unknowns, and there's still so much we don't know about the human brain, so it's not surprising if a miracle happens, I said.
The miracle of Reflection Valley,
he said, and we rejoiced together. My son continued to call, but my husband said,
No need to answer. I can't forgive him for marrying such a woman.
Though it felt like we were the ones disowned and kicked out, I was also tired of worrying about my son's family. I sent him a postcard saying we're both doing well, so don't worry. I've been painting lately, with a drawing attached. I didn't write our address, but just noted, at Reflection Valley. After that, I sent a postcard about once every 3 months, so he stopped calling. 5 years into our life in Reflection Valley, Sam said,
I'm planning to hold a solo exhibition in LA soon. Would you like to display your works as well, Rachel?
I was surprised. Oh no, my paintings are just a hobby, I declined.
Rachel, your paintings are great. They're gentle and warm, and you paint animals, flowers, and people. I'm sure they'll be well received.
Indeed, I painted semi-stray cats coming for food, chickens and cows from nearby houses, flowers in the area, and the villagers who treated us kindly. Sam suggested pricing the paintings, and I said, maybe $20 a piece, thinking it was a bold price for me.
That's way too low. Even 10 times that would be cheap,
Sam said, and set the prices according to the size of the paintings. I never imagined I would have a solo exhibition in LA. On the day of the exhibition, I wore a formal dress I had prepared for the occasion. Next to me were my husband in a tuxedo and Sam. I thought it might be too much, but seeing the atmosphere of the art gallery and the people visiting, I was glad we were dressed properly. On top of that, we even had a magazine interview, and both my husband and I were elated. It seemed there would be an article titled, "A 70-year-old newcomer artist living with a husband with Parkinson's in Reflection Valley." It felt a bit exploitative, and while I had thoughts about it, I couldn't articulate them well. And to our surprise, all 15 of my exhibited works sold out in the 2-day exhibition. As I stared at the sold stickers being placed next to each painting, Sam said,
"See, I told you they'd sell. They're selling better than mine."
My paintings sold because of Sam's reputation. Although I sold more pieces, the total amount was much less than Sam's, who earned over 10 times more than me.
People might not be able to afford Sam's paintings, but they could buy one from the same exhibition for a few more $100s. So they thought they'd get one,
my husband said. I think he was right.
"Oh, but your paintings are good too,"
he quickly added, trying to explain. My husband, who was dressed in a tuxedo for the first time, looked surprisingly dashing. Just then, a voice called out from behind.
"Mom, Dad."
My son and daughter-in-law Erica stood there with our granddaughter.
"Is that really you, Rachel? Why are you having an exhibition in LA?"
Erica exclaimed. Apparently, my son had found an online version of the interview I had on the first day, published that very day. No wonder there are more visitors today than on the first day, I thought.
"Wow, I never knew you had such talent," she said,
glancing around the gallery and the people visiting.
"Mom, Dad, I'm glad to see you both looking well,"
my son said, tears filling his eyes.
"Grandpa, Grandma, I remember you,"
Coco said, touching our arms. The last time I saw her, she was only 6. Now she was 11. In the meantime, Erica wandered around the exhibition on her own.
"Wow, everything's sold out. How much did you make in total?" she asked bluntly.
"So you're the daughter-in-law who kicked out Jack and Rachel, just as I thought,"
Sam suddenly said, catching Erica off guard.
"What's the big idea? Why are you here now, after all this time?"
Sam said, his tone harsh.
"What do you mean? Who are you?"
she asked. "This is the main artist of this exhibition," I said. "My husband and I have been under his care."
"Oh, Rachel, you look younger. Did you get rejuvenated living with 2 men?"
she sneered. How vulgar. She thinks everyone is as low as she is.
"Don't assume everyone is as low as you,"
my husband suddenly shouted, making the room go quiet.
"This isn't the place for this,"
Sam said, leading everyone to a private room.
"I came here today because I wanted to see you both healthy, but..."
My son trailed off, taking a deep breath before speaking clearly.
"I'm thinking of getting a divorce."
Everyone in the room was shocked.
"What? What are you saying all of a sudden? Don't be ridiculous,"
Erica said, not taking him seriously.
"I've been dealing with everything for a long time, but I can't anymore,"
my son continued.
"I've also heard about your affair with a man from your part-time job, which has become a rumor at our daughter's school."
Everyone was surprised again. Coco lowered her head and bit her lip.
Erica's colleague's wife, whose child is in the same class as Coco, said Coco's mom is having an affair, right? Her mom says she's the worst, and even said Coco's mom will abandon Coco's dad.
I think it's wrong for a mother to tell her child such things, but as a result, Coco was being bullied at school.
"That's a lie, just a nasty rumor,"
Erica denied.
"I thought you might say that, so I had a detective agency investigate,"
my son said, laying out photos on the table. The photos showed Erica with a man in his 40s entering a hotel together in broad daylight.
"What's this? It's sneaky of you to do this behind my back,"
Erica shouted, putting herself on a pedestal while calling my son a coward.
"You're the one sneaking around, not me. I've endured enough. Your wasteful spending and everything about my parents, but this is the last straw."
It felt like my son's soul was crying out. Right there, my son laid out a divorce agreement on the table. A few months later, my son finalized his divorce and came to Reflection Valley with our granddaughter. Erica apparently put up quite a fight, but Sam introduced us to a capable lawyer, and she was eventually kicked out with nothing.
The savings are marital property,
Erica protested, but her credit card debts and the affair compensation were settled with the savings, leaving Erica with nothing. Her lover lost interest in Erica once her money ran out. Erica couldn't stay at her part-time job, had a poor relationship with her family, and couldn't return to her parents' home. She now works as a live-in maid cleaning guest rooms at a rural hotel. It's her own fault, but from now on, she'll have to grow old alone.
If your son wants to live here, there's an empty house a little way off that could be renovated,
Sam suggested.
Yes, maybe we should sell the house we used to live in,
my husband decided, ensuring we had enough funds for the renovation. We were worried about our son's work and our granddaughter's schooling, but she was happy to be able to attend a new middle school after having a tough time in elementary school. The village residents take turns driving the kids to school in town, and families pick them up from the bus stop on their way back. The bigger concern was my son's future. Starting farming now would be difficult.
The town is only 40 minutes away by car. There's always work if you're not picky,
Sam said. My son didn't seem to have any regrets about his previous job.
Then how about managing Rachel's and my work?
Sam suggested.
Our joint exhibition was a hit, and I'd like to do more events, but I'm not good with administrative stuff. Actually, I used to work in marketing and made the company's website,
my son replied. What a lucky coincidence.
Great. Rachel, let's keep creating more works.
Me too? I asked.
Of course, you're a 70-year-old newcomer artist,
he said enthusiastically. It seems there were already several inquiries about purchasing my paintings. I never thought such a life awaited me after turning 70.
This really is our Reflection Valley,
my husband said, relaxing in our newly renovated home. Recently, aside from repair requests from the neighbors, my husband also tends to the field next to our house at a leisurely pace, helping with cooking and cleaning. The online sales of my printed postcards and goods, which my son initiated, seem to be going well. The painting I'm currently working on is my first major piece, a painting of the 5 of us, including Sam, from behind. I'm torn between titling it Family Emblem or Reflection Valley.